readers and to tell them the truth about what's going on, to make high quality journalism and to make high quality content for different audience to catch people's attention about. And now there is one more new big goal, as we are blocked inside Russia and in the website. We have other ways how to deliver content to Russia, but still it's new goal because we want to work not only for Russians abroad or for international audience, but also to work for Russians inside Russia, because it's this is our whole audience and it's readers who need to know what's going on.
Okay. So I'm just going to ask a follow-up question. Okay. So what? How would you, if your core audience is inside Russia, how would you want to, what type of influence do you want to have?
Influence?
Yeah. If your core group is core audience is in Russia, what type of impact do you want to have on,
I
that
understand.
audience?
It's like very common question about the impact.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really very popular one. And it's like I wouldn't tell you. I know what you maybe. I'm joking, but maybe what you want to hear, that we will reach out the guys who are under propaganda, or we will work as activists to change the regime, or stop the war, or something like that. Of course, like human beings, of course we want the war to be over, and we want Russia to be free. But as for journalists, our impact and our goal is not this one. Our goal is to do our job, and as I mentioned, that tell you what it is. And about the impact, when the media industry inside Russia is completely destroyed. I mean, of course, there are some good independent media that are resisting, like small ones, in exile, they are also in exile, but still the industry, like the whole sphere, it is destroyed. All websites, all independent news outlets are blocked. And you are playing hide and seek within the authorities under the war censorship. So, to tell the truth, the fact that we are continuing our job, because the number of publications haven't decreased and we haven't stopped, and also the fact that there are a lot of ways how people inside Russia can still read us. It's crazy, but we see that the number of readers also is more or less the same. No matter. So, and this is for us is already a huge impact, and I think it's the real impact we want to have. We try our best to survive and to do our job and to work for our readers.
Okay, thank you. Wait, Jonathan, hold on. I want to ask. One second. Where's the question? Sorry. Oh, 7. S7.
I've noticed that many students don't realize that the media in Russia is sadly oppressed. What would you tell young people of today about why it's important to have a free, independent press?
I'm gonna repeat it. So basically, oh, you heard it? Okay. Yeah, for our young people. So a lot of people right here in our school, they don't realize that there's a lot of countries where independent journalism is oppressed. So the question is, what would you tell our audience here about, why is having a free, independent journalism important, for them?
I know, guys, it's really great, for example, that you're having this workshop or seminar, how it's called that, because
Yeah,
it looks
seminars.
like not only, yeah, it looks like that not only your professor, but also you are interested in having, in asking these questions.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really already great because, freedom of speech, it is not something taken for granted. It's something rather fragile. For example, of course, in the Western countries and in the United States, like the situation is much better. But you also have your own problems. They're not comparable to the situation in Russia or Belarus or I don't know other countries under dictatorship. But still, it's not something just given. It's great that you have to be interested in it, you have to protect it somehow, and to take care about it. And also, like every war, and nowadays with the situation with Ukraine and Russia, it's clear again, every war starts with repressions and war against independent media and freedom of speech. Like every war in history shows it. And so when you see that something like this, but we usually don't learn these lessons, but still when you see that something bad starts happening when the freedom of speech, with media, with other independent organizations that try to promote the truth, and you really see that it's not okay with them, so it means that authorities are preparing for something bigger. It may be war, it may be, I don't know, the total dictatorship or something, but you have to keep it in mind.
All right, thank you. Let's ask Five just to get a little background information.
Why did Medusa, formerly known as Lenta RU, leave Russia?
Why did Medusa or the staff from Medusa leave Russia to go to Latvia? Like, what's just for our audience?
Yeah, By the way, I don't know how much you know about us, but you can read us in English.
Mm-hmm.
We have an English language version. It's
we know.
Medusa.io.en. Medusa was established as a European company 8 years ago, because even 8 years ago, it was shortly after annexation of Crimea, it was absolutely clear that the independent media are not welcome in Russia anymore. So the idea was to establish the headquarters abroad, just to prepare for any bad scenario. And at the beginning, it was not something really very, very serious. I mean, people were really laughing at us that we are in Latvia or in Moscow. But when in this February, when all the media had to evacuate the staff immediately, of course we realized that we were in privileged position. Not because it was given, but because we were preparing, but still we had at least some headquarters in Europe, some European papers, some banking accounts, because when you just immigrate immediately you have nothing, it's very difficult. And 8 years ago, we've chosen Riga, Latvia. It's really beautiful small town near the seaside, near the Baltic Sea. It's Latvia is one of the Baltic countries, because of many reasons. Now part of them now sounds crazy and out of date, but then it was reason to book. It's close to Russia, so you can go home. You could go home very easily. It's just 800 kilometers, so you can drive or take a train or take a bus or it's a quick flight. Because our headquarters was there, but almost half of the team was living inside Russia, and people moved a lot. We just living between two cities actually. So it was close to Russia. Now it's not close and it's not relevant anymore. Riga is rather cheap, especially if you compare with other European cities. The processes of legalization there, all the paperwork to receive legal status and the job permit, because as we are Russians with Russian passports, we can't so easily go to Europe or to the United States. We have to have visas, and if we want to stay longer, there is a lot of paperwork. And besides, Riga is a Russian-speaking town. Like almost half of the population there speaks Russian. So for people who don't know languages, it's easier to adopt. And we were joking that, it was like immigration, but like, or exile, but not like real one. It was not real exile. We understood what real exile is only this spring, March, when you understand that you literally can't come back home. Of course, during COVID, it was also difficult, but it was like the whole world had the same problem. But now you literally can't go home to see your friends or relatives, and it's absolutely different feeling, like you're real immigrants.
Is there any journalists still in Russia from Medusa?
Not anybody from the staff. We can't afford it because it's like too dangerous, because of this law about fake news, discreditation of the Russian army, and officially like fake news, it's like everything. It's all information got from all other sources than Russian Ministry of Defense. So it's like so everything is fake news, and that's why. And also there's like state betrayal and a lot of other curious laws about war censorship. So no, now and like every person who participates in producing such a content, it may be not even a reporter, I don't know, photographer, designer, corrector, anybody can be imprisoned. And so we can't afford to put people's lives in such risk. So we don't have any staff reporters inside Russia. But of course, there are journalists who made their decision like this, and who, like we call them now guerrilla reporters. It's like freelance journalists who stay in Russia and work from Russia anonymously. And there are a lot of safety protocols, but of course there are people who are still working inside the country.
Okay,
and who want to walk on ground.
Thank you. Let me ask the next question. Just a couple more questions. So it's trying to publish independent journalism in about Russia. Obviously, there's a great risk. Why were Medusa journalists so, even today, even though they're in Latvia, why are they so willing to take on that risk rather than just go with the status quo and stay safe? Why were they willing to take on that risk?
What do you mean by status quo?
Oh, status quo means.
I know what it means.
I meant like they could have just went along with what the government told them, and would have been guaranteed their safety. And
I think that this situation is like really because there's like for many years in Russia, there were like different ways and possibilities to do this so-called status quo. For example, I don't know, it's crazy even for me. I just moved from Moscow a year and a half ago. I'm from Moscow, I really love it. And like for last decade, Moscow was it was really cool city to live. I mean, it's like it became very well with like cultural life, social life, restaurants, everything. It was like a big megalopolis, like city, center of the world. Like you have everything, and it's really great. But at the same moment, it's crazy feeling that like if you don't think about politics, if you don't think what's going on at the same moment, it's like a perfect place to be in. And it was really, for me and for my friends, it was not an ordinary situation. For example, when you go to some protest, and it's really brutal protest. It was like over the late years where they like really everything is really brutal and scary. So you go to the protest, and afterwards with your friends, and afterwards at the same evening you go to the bar. and you really have a nice time. I mean, if nobody of your friends were taken to jail and you had to police office and you have to solve all these problems, is everything is okay? You still go to the bar, you laugh, you have some nice time. So I think this was status quo. So all our life was rather crazy based on it. But then some things happen that you just understand that you can't, it's not possible, there's no such a possibility. It's to tell the truth, it's not many situations in your life when you know that, like, you know, this is white and this is black. Usually it's much more complicated to make a decision. But with this war, it's like, it's huge, terrible war. My country started, and we were talking about our job. They started, you know, you're not supporting this war, but your government starts it and says that it's like in your name. And you say, like, sorry guys, no. And also, as a journalist, you just can't call war war. It was forbidden in Russia to use the word war. Like it's like some special operation, something. So this, I don't know how to answer your question, but in this situation, we just understand what you have to do. And it's not possible to find any other solution, I think.
All right, John.
And people are dying, like people in Ukraine are dying.
Yes.
I don't know what other solutions you can find.
No, yeah, I understand. All right, just one or two more questions. Yeah.
So, what do you think is the future of journalism in Russia?
Like, do you think journalism in Russia will change? Do you think?
You know, there was what we call Russia. No matter, even if the war will be over, I hope well, not if but when, but I hope, like, you know, or it's there will be no, like, you know, one day you wake up, the war is over, and everything in Russia changes.
Yeah.
There will be years or even decades to understand, to reflect, to think over, to rebuild, to do mistakes correction, everything with the situation we are having now. And so I hope that one day, of course, there will be a brilliant future for journalism in Russia. But being realistic, I understand that it's not going to happen soon. And besides that, all the industry is destroyed. So you will have to rebuild everything from the very beginning. But there are also like some good, something more optimistic. You know, like Russian journalists are really very creative ones. Because you are used to work in the situation, you know, with the lack of resources and to find really great solutions to all your problems. And people are really talented. Even, you know, during the last years, like when it was clear that there is no future for independent journalists in Russia, a lot of small, great projects appeared. So this shows that people really want to do it, know how to do it. So sometimes, somehow, I think we're going to build it, but no idea how and when. I will do it for sure.
Thank you. One more quick question. So I'm going to ask, are Medusa journalists planning on ever going back to Russia, or that's not a thought?
I think it's not the question you have to discuss with yourself, and not with you, but the question you have to discuss even with yourself and with your family now. It's like my personal opinion. Of course, like everybody wants, not everybody, but many people wants to go back, or at least have the opportunity to come. That everybody has parents there, for example, and friends and so on. And for many people who had to evacuate in February, they didn't want to live in other countries. So it was not like planned decision or something. So of course people want to, but now it's better not to think about it. Because if you start thinking about it like every day, you just get crazy. It's like, you know, it was like the same with Russian immigrants, for example, after the revolution. When you read these memoirs, people like say, like every New Year's Eve, they say, like, okay, this is my wish, and I'm sure that next Christmas we will be in Moscow. That's it, Petersburg. And it never happened. So you just, it's easier and better not to plan something like this right now.
All right. Thank you so much, Kate, for your time. It was a pleasure. And guys, say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Thank
Ciao.
you so much. All right. Whew. Guys, I thank you so much for cooperating. I really appreciate it. More than you could know. So that was someone that was actually interviewed by the New York Times and many other publications. Did you get it?
No, she's
Oh.